Rocket! Hey, buddy. Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Ryan. Welcome back to How Farms Work. We just fired up the 8235R, which is back in the shed. So what we're doing today is we're going to pick up a little special something at Sloan Implement. So I'm gonna take the 82 up, and it's currently unhooked from the VT. So all I really got to do is just hop in it and go. Rocket was on my heels when I put my stuff in the tractor. So as long as we're good on fuel, we can start heading that way. It's about a 40-minute drive. So we're gonna hop up in the tractor and get moving. She's just a little dusty. Here we go. At this moment, you may be questioning my design choice of suspenders. Well, I got sick of my pants falling down all the time. I just decided that something needed to be done about it, so I went out and finally bought a pair of suspenders. I have to admit, they work. Sometimes a little too well. My 54-acre field of soybeans is starting to really turn yellow. Harvest is just around the corner. I wish I could say I was real excited for harvest, but I'm gonna be honest, with how much downed corn we have, I'm really not. Mostly just because of the damage that we have at the main farm. So stay tuned for the end of this video. We'll head out and have a look and see how the corn looks at the main farm and show you guys why I'm really not too excited about harvest this fall. But at least the prices are starting to rebound a little bit. The market's starting to acknowledge the damage across the Midwest that we've seen, and hopefully it keeps going up. Sloan wants to get us set up. They're gonna mount a monitor in the tractor here because compared to last year, the unit does not run through the ISO bus on the tractor. It's got a separate monitor. So if you guys haven't figured it out yet, we're gonna see what we've got that we're gonna be taking home with us shortly to use for the fall. I'm here for the goods. Well, what do we have here? Wow, this thing is like so massive. I gotta step back, even with the wide angle lens. So, here is a Brent V1100. As many of you know who watched our videos last fall, we worked with Unverferth. They sent down another one of their carts. Unverferth owns several different brands. Last year, it was an Unverferth branded grain cart, and this year, it's Brent. So Unverferth really does make great grain carts. That's why I bought an Unverferth to begin with. And I talked with them at the National Farm Machinery Show this spring, and they were asked if we were interested in working with them again this year. And of course, I said, heck yeah, because having a larger grain cart like this that can hold more compared to my smaller Brent is so nice, because we can have more ready to go, we can get the truck turned around faster, and overall it's just a better experience for us. It keeps things flowing a lot better. I would like to invest in one of these in the long run, but for now Unverferth has been nice enough to send us down a 1100 bushel grain cart. So when they originally asked me if I was interested in another grain cart this year, they're like, what size are you interested in? And I'm like, you know, it would really be nice to have a 1300 bushel grain cart, because stacked full you can fill the semi up, but with the weight restrictions that get lifted in the fall, the semi can hold a little bit more than the grain cart can fully loaded, or it's about the same. So it would have been nice to just have a cart that's a little bit bigger. And they're like, yeah, sure, no thing. They're like, by the way, what kind of combine do you guys have? And I'm like, oh crap. Well, I guess I'm gonna go with an 1100, because our 9510 can reach over the side of this one, but a 1300, it would have been a little tricky in some of our hills. Even with the grain cart this size, when you get on the right slopes, the auger can be lower than it needs to be for the grain cart. So you kind of have to pick and choose where you're going to unload at. You have to pick your runs when you're unloading on the go to make sure that you don't choose a spot where the grain carts or the combine's going to come down and hit the grain cart. As long as we're conscientious of that, we know our fields well enough, we're not real worried about that happening, but it's just something that, especially since it's not our grain cart, we got to be mindful of. So I would like to see us have a new combine in the next few years. Will that happen? I guess it just really depends on how the market's going and stuff. But for now, we're dealing with an 1100 bushel grain cart, which for me is good enough. It's really nice just having the grain cart here, because it really helped keep things moving smoothly. A neat feature that I found on this grain cart is that it actually has a scale on the side. That is freaking neat. I'm really happy to see that on there, mostly because we would talk back and forth in the tractor on what the scale was, you know, when to cut it out, because we wanted to fill the semi more accurately. So this way the person loading the grain cart can see how much is on it. That really just, it comes in handy, because you can tell the combine, hey, I just need this many pounds, and then they can fill you up to that amount. So this one looks a little bit souped up compared to the one we had last year. It has the same kind of auger on it, so it has the tilt as well as the rotation, which comes in very handy, especially when you're loading the semi, because you don't have to be quite so accurate with how you pull up to it. You can adjust it on the go. Looks like we've got two LED lights down here. Those are nice to see. Those are always nice to have. Hopefully we can get them to work. I can't remember if we got them to work last year on the grain cart because of something on the tractor's end. And we have huge Midas tires here. What are these? 970 R32s. And I'm looking at this one, and I think it's a little bit more spaced out compared to the cart we had last year as well. That's nice to see, because with our hills, it helps keep the grain cart more stable. I think that the wider you can get those tires out, the better. So the scale on this unit is not run through the ISO bus as it was last year. They said that there's another separate monitor that goes up in the cab, which Sloan's is going to be setting up for me today. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of SCVs. We'll probably set one of these the way that we want, because we still have one of these number 3. This SCV is rusted and locked up. It's been like that ever since we've got the tractor, and it's just something that we've never fixed. So we'll probably set, I think it was the side to side where we want it. We can disconnect that one and then just use the tilt on the auger. That was what we did last year. It worked really, really well. I may not be excited for harvest, but I am excited to have one of these to help us get things done, because as difficult as it's going to be with harvesting all that downed corn, it's going to be nice to have a unit that, you know, can keep us moving. We don't have a bottleneck as far as grain storage in the field goes. So here we are looking at the inside of the grain cart. Now looking at it here, you might think that why they didn't paint the bottom of the grain cart. That's kind of weird. Well, in actuality, that's just like a graphite paint that they had put on there to make everything flow smoother. And it's got a fresh coat of paint on the upper side. So if it works anything like the grain cart that we had last year, I know I'm gonna be happy with it. How's it going?
Yeah, yourselves?
Pretty good. Ready to take this thing home. What do we need?
Well, basically I just gotta get the tractor all set up for it.
Okay, is there just a monitor that goes in?
Yeah, there's a scale head that'll have to go in there, and then I just gotta put a bushing in the hitch here.
To keep it from bouncing?
More for taking up slack.
Oh, really? Okay. Cool. Well, let's get to work. I think that worked pretty good. Well, we just got the Brent V1100 hooked up, and we don't have all the SCBs hooked up because of the reason that I mentioned earlier, but we should have the auger extension at least hooked up. So let's see what happens when we run the hydraulics. I often forget how big these 1100 bushel grain carts are. To me, that thing is massive. Last year's cart that we ran was a red grain cart, and I kind of like the look of the red and green, but I think it'll be sweet to finally see green being pulled behind the 82 again. Bridges are a little tight, but the oncoming cars tend to give you the right of way. Well, we just made it back to the farm. Now, the reason they have this corner auger here, the reason it's got that crick right there, is because they want to get the auger as low as they can. So what they'll do is they'll offset the auger, and then it makes the grain flow easier down into the grain tank, so there's no obstruction inside the grain tank. You can fit more in it that way too, which is a good thing. So we're gonna park it here, find a place for it. There's the serial number on this grain cart. So if any of you ever buys a grain cart with this serial number, you know where it's been. Let's go out and have a look at the corn. Well, I really didn't have to go far. So as you guys will remember, we had the Derecho, however you want to pronounce it, on August 10th, which came through. We had over 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I heard some people claiming up to 140 in some places. I know that on a farm north of us, they lost power at 100.9, so that's the highest reading that they had gotten. But we're out here actually just next to the house at Rockville, the main farm, and as you can see, the corn is pretty much flat. So as you guys will probably know, with the derecho that came through, farmers do have insurance. However, it only covers to a certain amount, and I believe that we would have to see like 150 bushels to the acre before we got an insurance payout, which I wouldn't be surprised if we do here. So fun fact, since this corn is laid over, it's not technically snapped off. So wind and hail will not cover plants if more than, I believe the threshold is 5 of every 100 plants have to be broken off in order for there to be an insurance payout on wind and hail, if you've got it. So looking down at these corn plants, you can tell, gee, those aren't broken off. They're just laid over flat. We do have some fields that escaped. Travis's field over there across the road looks pretty bad too. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is pretty much everything that we have at the main farm. Everything looks like this. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what the yield monitor says. The more I come out here and look at it, it makes me sick to my stomach. But there are ears that are here. One of the concerns that I have is, since these are laid down, if we can get them up into the combine, one of my worries is that the kernels aren't going to be drying down very fast, because down corn you will have ears with higher percentage moisture. So will we be facing the same issue where it's December and the corn still isn't dried like it was last year because we got into the field so late? We'll just have to wait and see. Until August 10th, we were feeling pretty confident about our corn crop, but here at the main farm, this is our highest yielding farm, that got hit the worst. So there's spots that are still standing. Our theory is that the plants that are still standing are the areas where there aren't as big of ears on the plants, or no ears, to pull the plants over during those heavy storms. But this makes me sick to my stomach. I'm gonna get back out of here. So anyway, I'm looking forward to running the grain cart, and I want to give a huge thank you to Unverferth for sending it down to us to use. It's going to be a big help. It's going to help alleviate some of the issues that we're going to have this fall as far as trying to get the crop out. I also want to give a quick thank you to Sloan Implement for setting it up for us and having it on their lot for the last month. We finally got around to coming and picking it up. So I'm looking forward to using it. I'll talk more about it when we start harvesting, but in the meantime, we gotta wait for the corn to start drying down some more. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out all of our other videos. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. All how farmers work. With that, I'll see you next time.